How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Guys, great discussion coming our way. We are going to be talking about metal detectors. Where can we strategically place them? Maybe what are some tips in operating those metal detectors? Also, if I may, how to get the civilians to understand the perspective of the lobby officer, because I'm sure a lot of us have dealt with some of the civilians that may not understand what the lobby officer is trying to do. So this is gonna be a great dialogue. We're gonna have two guests on. We're gonna have Russ Hamilton, of course, that's our boy, and we're also gonna have Joe Vazquez from CEIA USA. He is our metal detector expert. So before I introduce them, I want to get into our sponsors. Guys, we have American Military University. If you guys are looking to pursue a higher level of education, please check out American Military University. It's a great online school, very supportive of the show Tier Talk, but more importantly, supportive of what we do in the corrections professions. We also have Guardian RFID, from inmate tracking and cell checks to cloud-based businesses and artificial intelligence. Guardian RFID digitally transforms jails, prisons, and juvenile detention facilities of every size. Visit guardianrfid.com for more information. And guys, we do post up independent content for corrections professionals on Guardian RFID. I do, Russ, William Young, Steve Menard, Mackenzie Koch, Greg Piper, bunch of us. So if you guys get a chance, please check out the Guardian RFID YouTube channel. And we also have CEIA USA. CEIA is the world's leading weapon, cell phone, and contraband detection system manufacturer for corrections. For more information, contact Joe Vazquez, who we will see today. He's going to be our expert today. You can reach him at 440-561-7615. He's a subject matter expert. He is passionate about our industry, and he will take great care of you. Tell him Tier Talk sent you. Hey, Russ, what's going on, man? What's up?
Anthony, I'm just having another great day. I'm excited to talk about this because, anything that can really go to, keeping people alive, keeping them safe inside the correctional field, adding that extra little layer of just, safety, security. It's wonderful to, be able to try and think about those things because we face so many dangers on a day-to-day basis.
Hey, Russ, how's Keepers of Chaos going? Russ, who are you? You don't even introduce yourself anymore. You just automatically assume my audience knows who you are. I mean, what's going on?
I would hate to ever assume that your audience knew who I was, but if they did,
know who you are better than they know me.
I don't know about that. But anyway, I'm a retired correctional sergeant from California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I started way back in 1989 at San Quentin State Prison. I moved through a lot of different things in my career, including eventually going over to the juvenile side of things. Now I work for a private contractor, and we do basically reentry and rehabilitation with parolees and probationers for a local jail and a local probation department near me.
Guys, this is a not only has corrections has evolved, but so is Russ. Russ went from cell searches to rehabilitation. It's a wonderful world. And listen to me, I was custody, and then at one point I started overseeing programming. What's happening? We also have Joe Vazquez. What's up, Joe?
Hey, how's it going, guys? How's everything?
Good. Hey, Joe, welcome aboard. Welcome to the team.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Hey, Joe, you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Joe Vazquez. I work for CEIA USA, the ferromagnetic division side of things, and just been working with in security for, the past 15 years, doing different types of security. I entered the correction market about 3 years ago, and I've been working with CEIA USA to provide the best solution possible for corrections.
All right. And guys, real quick, don't forget, link to Inmate Manipulation Decoded is in description. I am working on the Correctional Daily Reader. I'm 2 days away from complete in February. And I got, not only my quotes, but I got quotes from different people from all across the profession. If you're interested in getting a quote in a book, email me at gangianthony@yahoo.com, and I'll send you a context of a quote. and then you can go ahead and be published and be part of my legacy. And guys, Russ is supposed to do the intro to that book, and he promised he will. Right, Russ?
I promise. It's on my to-do list. I swear, Anthony.
You know, there's a time frame here. We got to the end of the year.
Yeah.
So,
I can spit that thing out in my sleep with 15 minutes to spare.
Yeah, but guys, you got to see what he's going to write. It's going to be banging. It's going to be about that perspective on firm, fair, and consistent. All right, guys. So want to get to metal detectors. So before we start talking about the specifics of a metal detector, I want to kind of discuss strategically, one, why are metal detectors needed in a prison? So very simple one-on-one dialogue at first, and then where we could strategically place them. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about the actual operations of a metal detector. So Russ, let's talk about the needs. Why do facilities need metal detectors?
Well, the two basic things that I really think about are, staff and visitors coming in to make sure that they don't have, God forbid, a weapon, worse yet, a firearm. And then second of all, really worrying about those smaller metal items that are really security nightmares. There have been a number of correctional staff that have lost their lives over something as small as a handcuff key. And so when we're trying to, scan and search and do all of these, proactive things with inmates that are being moved in and out of facilities and back and forth to court, missing something that small can get someone killed. And there's actual real world examples of that. So, I'm all for, listening to Joe here, tell us about, some of the things that we can use that can make our line of work that much safer.
Right. And before we get into that, we're going to have Joe on shortly too. Well, he's on, but I want to make sure we understand also the best places to strategically place the metal detector. So, I'll just name a few. Russ can complement that. I'm sure Joe may have some insight on that as well. But, obviously, anytime you're entering the secure compound, there's got to be a metal detector. Anytime you're moving an inmate from a higher level to lower level, there's got to be a metal detector, because, again, we're going to be stripping these inmates as well. When inmates have access to tools, equipment, there's got to be a metal detector somewhere outside where that job detail may be, like food service or maintenance. Where they have centralized gatherings, like a yard or mess or chapel, you're going to see definitely should be a metal detector. When they have contact with the public, like in visits, again, the metal detector also complements a strip too. You're always going to do, in most cases, you'll do both. But again, where they have contact with the outside, when you're bringing an inmate in, again, coming from the in to the out or out to the in, you're probably going to have a metal detector. What else you got, Russ? What other areas am I missing?
It all depends, but like if we're running, some of the more high security yards, I know one of the things that we used to do when I was at San Quentin is we would actually have to do multiple strip searches on each inmate as we moved them first from their cell and then into a holding cell, and then the final one is they would be strip searched before they went to the yard, and then a metal detector used in that last hope that if they had a metal shank of any kind in their possession, secreted, that we could detect that. So that's one of the areas. The one I always think of the most, though, is just that area that's often between the Sally Port and your intake area, especially in jails and places like that. That's where they spend a lot of capital and a lot of time trying to make sure that every inmate that they bring through is pristine. Pristine, first of all, naturally from guns and other weapons, and then from drugs and other smaller items that might really impact and breach security.
Yeah, Joe. Compliment what Russ said. Where are some of your metal detectors located in the prisons and jails that you have your metal detectors at?
Yeah, so you guys mentioned quite a bit of it. Definitely where the visitors are coming in the lobby, to make sure that no contraband's getting in. But any area where the inmates are leaving the cell and going to a different area where they can actually obtain this contraband, and then bring it back to the cell. So again, every facility is different, and what we normally do is we go in and we strategically look at the facility and then make some suggestions at that point. But every facility is completely different, and we have to look at each one and see where the critical installation points are.
Yeah, and I kind of like the generality of that all. Basically, it's wherever the inmates can get that contraband. And by the way, guys, could there be contraband that is permissible in the facility? We do have stuff that inmates aren't allowed to have, and once they have it, it's contraband. So again, inmates may have access to tools because they work in certain areas, but once you take those tools out of those areas, that's going to be contraband. And again, it's good to make sure that all the areas where inmates have access to things, or where they're centralized, where they're gathering, where there's a chance they can pass things off, or again, the contact with the public, the entrance into the facility. These are areas that are great to have the metal detectors in play. They are a very big, important fail-safe for our facilities, because believe it or not, you could strip an inmate down and they could still have contraband. Is that right, Russ?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned before, there was an incident in, I believe it was Iowa, where, that inmate had managed to, braid that handcuff key into his hair, and somehow that got missed. I feel that if they had, had a metal detector, or the right kind of metal detector, that wouldn't have been missed. And that ended up costing one deputy his life, and the other one was shot as well. We also know, and I mean, it's one of those things that maybe people are a bit squeamish talking about, that there's all kinds of, cavity room in certain orifices for these guys to hide things. And it has been known, and I have known people that have, discovered actual guns there. So that's one thing that, you can't search any other way, really, except for a metal detector. So, thank goodness for that, because if we didn't have that, it would make our lives a nightmare.
And Joe, before we go any further, metal detectors now aren't just detecting metal anymore, right? They're detecting other things as well.
So we just came out with a brand new system called the MI2. There's electronic contraband communication devices now that added an extra layer of threat. So not only are we detecting the weapons and the contraband, but we now came out with a new model that adds sensors to actually detect the electronic components of a communication device, such as a cell phone or earbuds. A lot of the current systems out there now cannot detect what they call the prison cell phone. And these are cell phones that are actually designed to defeat metal detectors.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Sometimes you go on Amazon, a lot of the stuff they sell, you figure it's just a way to smuggle stuff in. We did a whole episode one time on false cans of Coke and all this other stuff that when you mess with it, and of course it's like Amazon doesn't care. Whatever they're hiding in it is stuff that an inmate would want, like a handcuff key and stuff like that. And they make it look like it's, they're doing it for the public to hide things. So if someone goes to rob them, they don't, check these items. But having said that, someone that's a little bit more, devious in their ways will look at the stuff and say, yo, we could get this into a prison and open up a whole world of shit, and it really does, to be honest with you. But we did a nice video on it. Everything from a Coke can to VO5 bottle, it was just, you remember that episode, Russ, when we did that?
I do, but I really wanted to get back. Joe mentions that you can detect just an earbud.
Yes. Well, the current systems that are deployed have difficult challenges or have a challenge of detecting earbuds. But we just came out with a new system which has sensors in them to detect microelectronic devices. So we're going around to all the Department of Corrections and sharing this information. The system's now called the MI2, kind of like in Mission Impossible 2. Because it does actually does a good job on detecting especially communication devices. So
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. You're gonna put contraband hounds like me out of work. You know? So,
Yeah,
but
it's helping you out. It's
Can I
helping
tell you,
you
you know
it is
what?
helping because they can be absolutely 100% and stuff. On my best day, I was probably 5-10%, but
Well, Russ, you know what's good about that is because sometimes they're so small, a lot of people don't even realize they have it on them. And
Right.
they'll be going through the metal detector and the lobby officer like, yo, you got to take this off or you got your watch on, the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I forgot. Even the visitors.
Right.
That's why it gets to the point where we tell people right now, no watches. Oh,
Right.
but just universal precaution, no watches. Because at this point here, the Apple Watch is just, I will guarantee you, without a metal detector to detect those small devices, Apple Watches are all over these facilities right now. I'll guarantee you that.
For certain.
Oh, go ahead, Russ.
I was gonna say for certain, there's been huge influxes with all of these devices, whether they're the more micro type that he was talking about, that for whatever reason they're manufactured, they do tend to apparently be able to defeat those systems more, if for no reason, not just the system, but smaller devices you can fit more. So I'll stop now.
Well, hey, you know what? So one of the most underestimated jobs, but the most important, is going to be the lobby officer. Lobby officer 100% is the gatekeeper, right? I mean, they're the ones that are in charge of making sure that no contraband from the outside enters the facility. And they have a hard time because the contraband, first, the lobby officer, the funny thing about the lobby officer is they should be the most loved because they're the primary defense at most facilities. But sad to say, because a real lobby officer is going to enforce the rules down to a T, it's sad to say when they enforce the rules, even though they should be the most loved because people should understand that the rules are being enforced because we want to run a safe and secure facility, they tend to be the most hated because they're not going to allow people to get maybe that sandwich in that they want or that, that bottle of Coke that they're trying to smuggle in, especially if the rules say no outside food or only bottled waters, stuff that the person can see through, unopened, just little measures to make sure that we are running a safe and secure facility. So having said that, I just got to say this right off the bat, Russ. Lobby officers, metal detector, civilian staff. Is that ever a concern, Russ?
Okay, well, yeah, a lot of times citizen staff who aren't out there amongst the inmate population and doing what we do and understanding the dangers of a handcuff key, the dangers of a phone, being able to take pictures of people or set up hits or be able to set up drug drops, that kind of thing. They don't understand what these dangers entail. And so they think of it as a hassle, and they might try and, get their phone in for the day. They might try and, bring something in that they shouldn't. It used to be a nightmare. They would just want to bring in, metal forks and spoons and knives. And those things inside their possession may not represent a real threat. But what happens is those items wander away. They get lost. They get thrown in the trash. Inmates manage to steal them because they have their clerks and they have their classes and things. So all of those are concerns, and those people should be more appreciative of the dangers that they would eventually face if we were just to try and turn a blind eye and let things through and try and just smooth everything over.
Yeah, and what's unique about this all, and Joe, I don't know if you're aware of this though, but a lot of hold on, my lovely wife has gotten me a bottle of water. Took her a while to get it, so I went with a Yoo-hoo. There she is.
I haven't had one of those in years.
Oh, Joe, it's delicious. They haven't changed, Joe. Yoo-hoo has not evolved because they know we love it the way it is.
I used to drink those in the Quicks.
Oh, yes. Well, see, I'm lactose. So Yoo-hoo is my
go-to.
supplement. Yeah. Hey, so So a lot of facilities, I don't know if a lot of people out there know this, but obviously the officers are going to have a uniform policy, but a lot of the civilians don't. And sometimes that makes for a big conflict because the officer working the lobby may have tough times when it comes to addressing a civilian in the what address in regards to what they're wearing. Sad thing is, a lot of the times when the lobby officer is trying to do the job, some civilians may get upset, because of maybe what the officer may be asking them to do, or they may say, "I'm sorry, not that they mean anything by it, but do you have an underwire bra on, or can you remove the outermost garment?" And sometimes you realize that these civilians may not understand the purpose of it all, and they start EEDing making an EED complaint against the lobby officer who's trying to do their job. And the sad thing is, without a definitive policy for civilian attire, the lobby officer has it pretty hard. Now, with that said, that also could mess up the metal detector, right? Because the civilians, they could wear a couple of things that can cause the metal detector to go off, like we mentioned. The underwire bras, the stuff with a lot of pins. I know recently at a lot of facilities, we would have what you call a Class A or Class B uniform. The Class A is the uniform that looks good. It's got all the metal and all that stuff. But again, it's tough because when you're going through the metal detector, you got to take all that stuff off. So we would only go to Class Bs, the utility uniforms that there's no metal. You just got to take off your belt and go through. But I'm sure you've dealt with this, Joe. Have you ever dealt with this is civilian side of it all? How do we make it easier for the lobby officer that has to deal with pretty much the civilian clothing and, the stuff that can go off when they're going through the metal detector?
Right. So, as you know, communication is the most important, right? I'm not sure, what communication before a visitor comes to the facility is distributed, right? Is there a letter or a website? Maybe they need to register and understand the policies of coming into a correctional facility. The next thing, and you're hitting the nail on the head, is in that communication, they need to understand how they need to dress. And I had a situation at another facility where women's jeans, they allowed like all kinds of snaps and stuff like that, and they were trying to look for razor, like a half cut of razor blade size, or even the cell phones. And unfortunately, they had to go ahead and change the policy. The metal detectors can't determine whether it's a button snap or razor blade or in some cases an iPod earbud, especially the high sensitivity systems. So now the bra is another issue, but we came out with another device that actually eliminates the bra. So even though we definitely want these high sensitivity systems, especially with these microelectronics getting through, like the bra will be detectable, but we have a handheld device that will eliminate the bra and detect the contraband.
Right. See, now, Russ, I'm sure you remember this. The civilians, did they have dress codes or anything in policy about what they could wear?
Oh yeah, they did. Usually the first thing they talked to them was about they couldn't have a strapless dress, strapless blouse. They couldn't have anything that was sheer. And some other particular things about how tight it was fitting and that sort of thing. It becomes within the canon of what we look at with the visitors, though, is theirs is a lot more explicit than what they did for civilian staff. And so usually they could access the website. We also always had, lots of literature, so they should know what is and isn't allowed. And I think that there was a limit on something on the metal, but I can't remember how it was phrased. And that, they couldn't have anything that was, attachable and removable that was metal.
Yeah, I know that this is definitely a sore point for us. I mean, hopefully your facility does have some guidelines as to what the civilians can wear, because that will make it easier for the officer to do their job. but also, make it easier for the metal detector as well. Because I'm assuming that some of the stuff in policy, if you're going to implement for civilians, would relate to what the metal detector can and cannot detect. Would you agree with that, Joe? Wouldn't that be a good idea?
Yeah, so the most important thing for any facility to decide on their policy is what we call the critical uh, contraband or the critical weapon. So what we do when we come in is we set up the system and we calibrate the system to what we call the critical test piece or critical target. The critical target could be a razor blade, it could be an earbud, it can be a cell phone. So whatever the facility defines as the most critical, and then we'll calibrate the system to that, and anything equal or larger than that critical test target will be detectable.
Hey, let me ask one more question because there are some people that may want to ask this. Going through the metal detector, using a wand, if you have a female that is pregnant, could that affect the baby in any way, sense, or form?
No, so all metal detectors on the market, especially ours, is certified by all standards. They operate under the TSA strict standards for radiation. So we have every single certification out there for pregnant women and infants and so on and so forth, available. So we've done a lot of testing. This company's been in business for over 50 years. So they've qualified this system with almost every certification you can think of for safety.
And I think what a lot of people also may not realize is that the good thing about these metal detectors now is that when someone goes through, it doesn't just go off if they have metal. It kind of tells you where on their body the metal may be. Correct, Joe? Is that what your machines do now?
Yeah, that's correct. So we got 20 zones from head to floor. And we call them floating zones because if somebody, as they're walking through, tries to pass, try to change the position of a weapon or contraband, the system will automatically adjust to where that weapon actually is. So it actually follows a weapon if they're trying to walk through and kind of change positions to try to trick the machine. So yeah, it would actually pinpoint the exact area where that weapon or contraband or cell phone is coming through, so that it expedites the search area. You don't really have to necessarily search the whole body. The walkthrough does the job for you, and you just kind of try to find out what caused the alarm.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I have a great question too, and I think that Russ, obviously being a supervisor where he was, he'll understand this. So obviously the lobby can be a very busy position. I would like to hope that every lobby has two people. And the reason why is definitely male and female. One is because you're going to have male and females working through, so we get that part. But also one to keep an eye on once people are past it, that, nothing could be passed off to them or, they don't go out of area and come back in. I mean, that's big. That's very key. But also, let me ask a question. I read recently, and I think it's one of your stuff, Joe, but bear with me because I think this is awesome, especially for anybody working a metal detector or a lobby. So sometimes you could have multiple people kind of in line with each other going through, and I think there's only so many attempts you can pass that metal detector. If it keeps on going off, eventually it's like, okay, guys, we have to get this person. We have to see what's going on. Now, I remember, Russ, like, what is it, 3 times, I think, Russ, for the most part? Like, if you don't pass it 3 times, automatically got to get that supervisor, get on down and see what we have going on, correct?
That's usually it. It depends, it depends on the area. It depends on what your specific post orders say. But usually if the person can't pass after the 3rd time, then you can't check them through at all. It's usually, a supervisor has to get there. Usually based on that, if it was possible, we would try and detain that person.
Right now, from what I read recently, and maybe Joe, you're the person that best explain this. The machine will know if a single person is the one setting it off 3 times, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to control the situation. So if you're doing inside the facility, then you can just quickly get people going through that machine. It's consistently scanning. There's no delay in scanning or anything like that. If anyone goes off, then obviously you got to investigate the person who actually, um, caused the alarm. And once you determine that, then you try to investigate what the situation was. And if again, if in your policy, if they go 3 times and they still fail, then a lot of facilities just have them sit out because possibly they swallowed something, to try to defeat to try to get around the security checkpoints. And you, you just got to have them sit it out, and hopefully it passes through. And
Yeah, because I was doing some reading where some of these metal detectors can pick up specifics of the individual going through. So, basically, if it's the same individual going through, going off, the machine kind of picks up that this is Anthony. Like, for whatever it is, they know the person's specifics, correct?
Yeah, there is an additional, and I think you guys called it indexing. And yes, I mean, what it could do is create a profile of that individual. It could be that they have something inside of them that broke off, maybe a piece of metal that's inside of them that actually causes. So what the system can do is create a profile of that individual, and it says, okay, this individual's profile has this metal inside
Yeah,
of
like
them.
like the reason why I'm mentioning that is because you may have some staff that have ADA concerns that are going to go off in the metal detector. So again, it's good to know. Okay, well, this person's specifics is going to be, let's say, their right leg. So
Right.
now when this person goes in, it kind of already knows, okay, their right leg, whatever it is. But now if you
Right.
have something on the left side of the individual,
Right.
and I was like, well, that's
Yeah.
weird because you never had that
Yeah.
before, correct?
Right. Well, it detects the mass, right? So if there's, it measures the mass of metal that individual may have on them,
Mm.
right? And then anything above that mass is going to cause an alarm. Okay, saying, well, the profile that or the index that we created. Okay, now we're exceeding that metallic mass that's inside that individual, and
It's,
then
it,
it'll trigger an alarm.
it's crazy how advanced. And hey, Russ, just out of curiosity, Russ, so I'm sure obviously you overseen the lobby area a few times in your career. Um, I used to hate it when you would see staff mess with the sensitivity because they would be annoyed because it would go off all the time. And as a supervisor, you would walk by and maybe you go through, it's like, why ain't it getting off today? And then you look and it's like, well, someone changed the sensitivity again. You ever had to deal with the people that do that, the officers that keep on changing the sensitivity because it keeps going off?
Yeah, and you just got to tell them, you're defeating the point of having this whole device here. And so, it's terrible because you just end up with that situation where they're just trying to process bodies. They're not trying to detect contraband. So I mean, I guess that, it's that default, lowest level common denominator. The equipment can only be as good as the person who's running it.
Right. And then Joe, how low did the sensitivity go and how high can it go?
Wow, I mean, the new system that we're deploying, that MI2, I can detect paper clips. That's how small it can go. And I had an incident. We heard of an incident where somebody took a paper clip and stabbed an officer in the eye with it. So I could get as low as a paper clip um, in most with that new MI2, and also detect magnets, which obviously a magnet they can use to hide weapons and stuff with that, and detects, like I said, the earbuds and microelectronics, so microelectronic cell phones. So we can get pretty sensitive on that system, so it all depends on each facility, what they feel the most critical weapon or contraband is, and then we can calibrate to that specific object.
So what's good about this though is you do want to have it at the highest sensitivity, so it could detect the metal, let's say the safety pin. I get it, but sometimes you also get the inmates that get the boots and they have a little bit of metal in it or something like that. So now the problem is it's going to go off with every inmate going through. So hopefully when the facility is looking to invest in metal detectors, they find a way to build a balance. Like we want a metal detector that's highly sensitive, but what do we have right now that the inmates may be wearing that can disrupt that, right? Would you agree with that, Russ?
Yeah, it's always dependent kind of on, who's manufacturing the clothing of the inmates. In California, we had what was called the Prison Industry Authority. And so they were supposed to keep, metal levels below a certain amount. But, we had all these, grandfathered shirts that had all the steel buttons and stuff, which if we were processing inmates, like say from a outside work crew, it was a little bit more tedious, but we had to, search all the clothing anyway. But I can see how, depending if you're bringing in firefighters that all have, metal pieces in their boots anyway, then, it could be, a potential time-saving thing to be able to, X those out. We usually had to have everybody remove everything from their feet and then walk through.
Yeah, and guys, the reason why you do want to have the highest sensitivity, because we even mentioned even a paper clip, but sometimes inmates, they get pieces of the fence, and they'll make weapons from the piece of the fence. Even if you have that yellow line where the inmates know they can't pass it, somehow they get it. I mean, probably because you have a complacent staff member who's not really controlling that line. But that's very important, that those pieces of the fence, because they could be very small. But let me tell you something. I've seen it. They could do some serious poking damage. I mean, Joe, you just said that before with the safety pin, but right, the pieces of fence as well, correct?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And we have three systems. One is the strategic system, which is the walkthrough, and then the second one is the tactical system, which is a deployable portable system, which weighs only 10 pounds and stuff. So that's really good in the yard, when they're trying to take pieces of fence off, or maybe even a cell phone somehow got smuggled into the yard by a drone or who knows what. It's good to have that tactical system as well in the yard, so you can disrupt smuggling patterns and create element of surprise when things are possibly being smuggled around.
How long would one like that take to set up though?
It takes a couple of seconds. They weigh 20 pounds. I can carry one in each hand and then just drop them in different spots. And of course, you want to change, the spot to create a psychological deterrent, right? As well as detection. But you just pick one up. I can carry two of them in each hand, and then as soon as I turn them on, it takes a second for them to just be ready to rock and roll.
Nice.
Yeah, they're nice. And then they also,
I was born a couple decades too early, I guess.
And then you can.
Hey, so speaking of that, so you said there was a third one. You said three. You said
Right, and then the handheld's a third, which is pinpointing the exact. So one's strategic, one's tactical, and the last one is the pinpointing, or which is the handheld, to investigate what triggered that alarm. So those are three systems. Strategic, tactical, and pinpointing or investigation. Three levels of capability.
And what if I can, I mean, so let's just say, maybe I'm part of the training department or part of I work for the facility that kind of, we could sign off on orders or whatnot. So if we're looking to invest in metal detectors, I mean, one thing is what type of metal detector would you recommend to be the best one? Like, where are we at now with the best technology for metal detectors? If I'm shopping around, what is it that I'm looking for?
So the first one, which is the strategic walkthrough, which just came out, it actually was launched right before COVID, and we didn't really get it out into the market or share it with anyone. It's called the MI2, and it's actually two metal detectors in one. Is the old metal detector system, which did a great job with contraband and weapons, but has difficulty with microelectronic devices. So what we did with that system is we added new sensors for the microelectronic detection. So it's called the MI2, the CEIA MI2. The second one is called the MSD, and the MSD is the portable tactical system. It's a full body detection system. Looks like a pole, and it has a battery on it, which lasts for about 26 hours. And you just deploy it, deploy it throughout the facility and create element of surprise or disrupt smuggling patterns. They never know when it's going to be there, right? And so it allows you to position it out there, and that's called the MSD. And then we have the two handhelds. One is the PD 240, and the PD 240 is for everyday screening. It's the most sensitive handheld on the marketplace. And then we have the PD 140N, actually 140ND. So it's the PD 140ND, and that is the handheld which will discriminate the bras. Okay, and so that's good for visitors or for female population.
Love it. And then, hey Joe, are you on your computer or on your phone?
I'm on my computer.
Oh, do you have your phone by you?
Yeah.
You have any pictures of some of these machines, and you can tell us what they look like, or you can tell us what they are, and like, do you have a picture of the MI2 and all them?
Yeah, probably.
Better, Joe. Joe. You're on the spot here, Joe.
I know, you got me on the spot.
No, I'm sure you got to have something. You're the salesman, man. Come on.
No, I do. I just didn't. You called me off.
Yeah, I want to see him, right? You want to see him, right, Russ?
Well, if possible, yes. But I was just thinking back to the strategic one,
Right.
not the strategic one you were talking about, the more tactical level. And I can't tell you the number of times that I had incidents out on my yard, and I mean active, hot incidents. Where we had anti-riot gear and stuff out there, and it sure would have been nice on some of the uninvolved, because sometimes I would have hundreds of quote unquote uninvolved inmates, but we weren't sure about that, to have a device like that to be able to set up and have them move through it, slowly, one at a time, yards and yards apart, to be able to make sure that they weren't moving, that contraband from one side of the yard to the other or back into the housing unit. Because we would be out there, and I mean, there would be, shanks being used actively, and then trying to, put that down. I can think of a lot of situations where that type of thing would have been really, really handy.
Yeah, like Joe, do you have a picture of the strategic ones?
Yeah. I'm pulling it up on the website. Give me 1 second.
That's fine. Take your time, and then I'll zoom in on the picture, and then maybe you could tell us. It's up to you. If an agency wanted to get them, how would they go about and order them, and then how much each one of these usually cost?
Yeah. So the MI2, we're pushing pretty hard and giving some good discounts on it. Give me 1 second. So the MI2 is 11,800, but we're giving it to the Department of Corrections at 20% off, simply because we're positioning this new product, and we want everybody to have it. And we're also willing to buy back some old systems, right, at the same time. So it's but at the discount, it's about 8,600 or something like that. And let me get a picture of it.
Yeah, I'm curious. I wanted to see. Oh, there. Okay, hold on. Let me zoom in.
Okay, so it's just a walkthrough. Now, in the walkthrough, and I know it's a little hard to see because I got the the bright lights.
Wait,
But
Joe, is that a spotlight?
yeah, a little spotlight to give me some light.
Joe's like a YouTube pro.
Oh yeah, I got a green screen and everything.
I'm in a dungeon with a freaking light bulb behind me. So Joe, that's what's that called? The MI2?
That's the MI2. As you can see, the red, they have red lights to indicate the contraband and weapons, right? So these are hardened metals. And then there's some yellow lights there, like near the chest area, where it tells you that it's a electronic device. So basically, the operator, if it's red, is most likely a weapon or some type of metallic contraband. If it's yellow, it's most likely a electronic device.
Hey Russ, you can put the phone down, Joe, so we can see your beautiful face. Hey Russ, what's your thoughts about the difference in detection? The yellow for the cell phone device or electronic communication device, and the red for the possible weapon.
I think, any little bit of information that you can trickle toward a person who may at that point, have to do a detention or, might even have to make an arrest or something like that is, great because, we might have, already had a tip up as to what was coming in. So just knowing that, hey, we have a potential weapon. Hey, we have a potential cell phone. All those things are great, and any little bit that helps you on the investigatory side is great news to me.
All right. And then I really want to take a look, and I'm sure Russ does, the strategic one. Do you have a picture of the? Oh, you have it?
Yeah, I just pulled it up. So and let me get my light. There we go. Oh well, whatever. So that's the strategic one. So if you notice, it has a handle on it. I can grab one of the, I can grab one in each hand and deploy them very easy, and it'll do a full body scan.
How tall are those, Joe?
They're probably about 6 feet, and the detection extends about maybe an extra half a foot above that.
That's and what's your thoughts of that, Russ? Maybe
yeah, like I say, I was born 20 years too early. I can dream up all kinds of scenarios where those would be handy. Maybe just every now and then when I'm clearing a yard, to have guys come back through there, and those things actually, once they know what they are, and you're just every now and then bringing them out, maybe putting them on a different side, you can actually detect things just by the body language of guys not wanting to go through, trying to reposition themselves, dropping weapons potentially. So I can see a lot of uses for it, even beyond what they were designed to do.
And what's good about that is you could also take with you on the go, which is pretty good as well. As I said, it's not like if you're Central Trans or whatever it is, you could, let's say you have to make a stop. Let's say you're interstate transfer, and you have to make a stop at a bathroom for an inmate.
Right.
You could have those, and the inmate could walk through to get right back in. So that would be a good sell for interstate transfers. Hey, how much one of those cost, Joe?
They're about 78 MSRP, and I can get them down to 20% off on those. So and if it's multiple units, we can probably even do better on pricing there. So yeah, so they're really good system because you can put them in areas where you normally can't put a walkthrough, and they use them for shakedowns. You can screen mattresses with them, pillowcases, laundry bags.
Are they powered by a cord, or are they battery powered?
The battery power, they last for 26. The battery lasts for 26 hours.
Man, I'll tell you what, in a dorm, I would put one in a mop bucket and scoot it up and down the hallways. And every time it went off, I would be getting almost as many phones as I could find without. Almost.
All right. So Russ is going to go out of retirement again. I see it. Or you may use it where you're at now. I mean, obviously, could be threats anywhere you work, right now. And then the other thing is you also mentioned the handheld.
Yeah.
Do you have one of the pictures for your handhelds?
Yeah, let me get one up. But Yeah, the handhelds are pretty straightforward, and I'll pull one up for you here. Um, but yeah, I mean, these devices are amazing, and one thing that we do is we put our money where our mouth is. I guess that's how we used to say it. Um, so if anyone wants to trial these systems at their facilities, we're willing to loan these out, right? So we'll come out, we'll do a demonstration, we'll calibrate the system where they want to, whoever wants to use them, and wherever, and then we will loan the system for about, just as a trial or demonstration at no charge. So so we're willing to do all that, and in
That's
fact,
pretty cool.
I'm going to do a tour throughout the country starting in April, and bring these systems out for people to actually, see them.
Russ would
So,
love to do that.
oh yeah, Russ, man.
Look
I
at
Well,
mean,
Russ.
when you get to California, just let me know, man. I'm
well,
ready. I'm ready
well,
to go
I am
tackle
working.
somebody.
I am working with CDCR in
Excellent.
Solano. There's 3 of them there. Plus, they got the MI2 that they're trialing. So while we're out there, I do plan to go there sometime in April. We'll go out there together.
Oh, fantastic! I love Solano. It's a beautiful area.
Yeah, yeah. So and
I'm only 3 hours away.
From
yeah,
Solano?
Yeah.
I'm about 3 or 4 days.
You're only 3 or 4 hours if you take the jet.
Yeah, if I take the jet, yeah.
That's what the civilized people do now, Anthony.
Yeah, they don't drive anymore, right? Is that what it is?
Right.
so
There it is.
so here's the handheld here, and there it is. So that's the handheld, and we have
Beautiful.
different settings and stuff. So that's the PD 240, and the PD 140 ND looks a little similar. It's just a little smaller profile, but looks very similar.
You know what would be good? I mean, we have the officers that carry them on their person too, because obviously that's kind of like the strategic ones, technically, to us, to be honest with you. Let me
Right.
ask the question. Well, I'll do it, Russ first. What would be the difference, Russ, for you? Would you prefer the strategic, just in a moment, bring those things down, or would you prefer more wands?
Well, you know what? The one thing that I have a lot of experience with, other than being, out in like a foyer or something like that, with the larger walkthrough stuff, is we used to use those a lot, and we used to use them especially on laundry bags. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I found weapons or cell phones inside a laundry bag. And what it allowed me to do is it allowed me to move at a much faster pace, because I was not going for dope. Right. I was going for that, because we could always bring the dogs in for dope. Right. But on the phones and the weapons and the tattoo paraphernalia, we would use those on the laundry bags a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and guys, that's another good thing, by the way. These metal detectors, or the strategic ones, probably, maybe the wands, like you mentioned, maybe it'd be the wands. It is great to go through the inmate's property, the laundry bag, stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
to see if there is anything in hiding. Hey, let me ask, Joe, if when I reach 20,000 subscribers, a wand would be a good gift for a giveaway. How much do the wands cost?
Oh, they're pretty inexpensive. They're like $250 or something like that. So
Not a bad idea,
yeah,
representing CEIA USA.
yeah. I mean, we can work it out. I'll talk to my marketing team. I'm sure
Yeah,
we
I
can do
should
that.
be at 20,000. Not that far away. I'm almost there.
Mhm.
Hey, Joe, if somebody wanted to, order some, or if they wanted to try to get some at their facility, what would be the steps that they could take?
The best way is to contact me. I handle corrections nationwide, and I make sure that everybody's well taken care of. I take this job as serious as I possibly can, to make sure I serve everybody on the front line, and all the way up. The best way, and I'll give my my cell number out if you guys want to talk to me about it. And my number is 440-561-7615. Just shoot me a call. We'll work together to see what you need, and we'll go from there.
And Joe, what's the website?
So it's www.CEIA, and that's CEIA with a hyphen USA.com.
All right, let me see if I got this. So www.CEIA
with a hyphen
USA.com.
Yes.
All right, so let me just put it out there. There it is.
Yeah.
You agree?
That. Yep, that's it.
So guys, website www.ceia-usa.com, and if you're looking into it, contact Joe Vazquez 440-561-7615. Hey Joe, real quick, before we start closing up, you're going to be in Vegas this couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be at the ISC West show in Vegas from the 22nd to the 25th. If anybody's going out there, please visit our booth. Just look us up. And just find the booth number, and we'll be there. I'll be there. And also going around the country also to do some of the regional shows as well. And we'll put out that calendar as soon as I get confirmation on everything.
Hey guys, if you're at an event and you see CEIA USA and you watch Tier Talk, tell them that Tier Talk sent you, and Joe will bend over backwards for you. I'm hoping that's the key here. Hey, since we're coming to a close, Joe, anything you'd like to say in closing? I mean, Joe, it says here you're passionate about the profession. I'm curious, what is it about the profession that you're passionate about?
Well, I mean, one, I was in the military, so I see the work that you guys do every day, and I don't think you guys get enough credibility as far as what you do on a daily basis. And it wasn't until I actually spent time, part of it in Solano and Florida and Georgia, and worked on the front line with some of the guys, and really got a real look at just the challenges, the unpredictability of what you guys do. I just said, hey, my systems protect, the front line. Okay. And I want to make sure that not only do I put these systems in position and help deploy them, but I want to help. And that's why Tier Talk is so crucial. Help in other ways, above and beyond the equipment, to ensure that, officers, they go to work and they go back home to their families safe. And so that's where my passion comes from. Yes, I have to position this equipment in some way, but it goes way beyond that. And once I begin the programs, and Anthony and Russ, you guys are all part of this. Once we begin going on the road and start working with these facilities, we're going to give the maximum value we possibly can in person, at the shows, and also here on Tier Talk.
Yeah, I think me and Russ are going to work with you to put together a professional video of maybe a few tips for custody work in the lobbies with these metal detectors. But I also would like to do a video explaining the importance of metal detectors for the civilian staff as well, so they understand it. And in the poll, I'm getting votes now. So far, 38% have no policy for civilians. And then there's on Facebook, people are commenting, and it's like they may, but it's not being followed. So obviously, guys, if you're watching this, we could come up with all the best technology in the world to detect contraband, but we do have to have some form of policies in place that can help the machines be more effective. So again, if we want these things to detect the highest level, like the let's say the paper clip, well, then we have to make sure that we don't have anything on the individuals that can deter that and make that sensitivity useless then. Because I'm going to tell you something. Eventually what's going to happen is, if it's going to detect, let's say the little metal thing by the boot, it keeps on detecting it, people are going to start ignoring it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so why don't we just get rid of those boots? You know, the inmate doesn't need those boots. Let's switch on to something else so we can totally focus on what the machine is meant to do. Hey,
Right.
Russ, anything you'd like to say in closing?
You know, I just that this is what I love to do, is to find ways to increase the safety and security of the institution and my brothers and sisters that are out there.
Right.
You know, anytime that we face a weapon that's made out of metal, I mean, it's a serious thing. Equally to be said, when we can detect handcuff keys or other things that might be used against us, so much the better. And so I'm always enthusiastic to talk about that next layer or that additional layer that you can put in there, and detect these things, or to put enough deterrence that they don't even try it in the first place.
Correct.
Yeah. Hey, one more question before we go to close, Joe. What's the
Mm-hmm.
warranty like on these equipments? And do you guys come on and fix them, or?
Yeah, so there's a 2-year warranty on all our systems. You can always extend as many years as you need, up to 5 years on the warranty. But we take really, really good care of our, of you guys, because we know how crucial this equipment is. So, under the warranty, we will definitely repair those systems as necessary. So a lot of times, since just we'll identify the component that failed, and you guys can mail it to us. We'll repair and send it back.
Right. And then also one last thing. If metal detectors are obviously constantly evolving. New models are probably coming out every few years?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that this new model, this MI2, came out, because I didn't know how much more sensitive they could possibly get, and when it came out, I got really, really excited about it, as to what it was capable of. Typically, these leaps of detection don't really occur all the time, but my engineers went to work on electronic devices, and wow, I was just blown away.
And you said you have a buyback model. So if I wanted to invest in a newer one, do you guys buy back the older ones?
Yeah, so we'll we across the board we give 20% off on our MSRP pricing, and then we can give we can then quote a certain price for older systems. I like to just get the systems that are just so old, that they're about to that they're not serviceable, or they're just about to crap out, and replace those first. you know
Right.
so we can make an offer on those systems, and and go
And I
from
have
there.
one last thing. What's the lifespan for one of these at a facility? Like, I mean, when do you look to start replacing them?
The time to start looking to replace some of this technology is about 6 to 7 years. Our systems have been performing extremely well, and giving a lifespan of 10 years, but it's really good to start looking at 6 or 7 years, and begin replacing those systems, because either new technology came out, or maybe those systems may not be supported, um, and or they're ending, their life is somewhat ending. But I've seen systems out there for 10 years, and they're still rocking and rolling, and that's awesome. Also, there's a lot of new systems out there that were just bought about 4 years ago, and I can upgrade those systems to the MI2. All we do is we add the new sensors in them, and now you got a 10 times more powerful system, right? You're detecting all your electronics, and you're enhancing your metal detection by 30% more. So whatever you're detecting now, you can enhance by 30%. So a lot of cool things. And one thing I want to share with everyone, which is not really being utilized, but you can actually do shakedowns at the walkthrough. So there might be a plastic weapon, or there might be some drugs or tattoo needles being transported around, which might not be detectable. But there is a random alarm system that you can turn on at any moment, and start random screenings right at the walkthrough.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, I'll tell you something. For us, And I remember if as an inmate, if you fail that metal detector 3 times, you're getting stripped. If it goes off once, definitely a pat frisk. Because remember, you're getting a bulk of inmates coming through. So, you know, we do sporadic pat frisks, random. But when you go through the metal detector, if you go off once, automatic pat frisk. But if you can't clear the machine 3 times, supervisor's going to get called. You're going to go into a private room, and we're going to conduct a strip. So again, these machines truly do save lives. So again, if you're looking to invest in something new, pass this over to the people that are in charge of purchasing something. Tell them to contact Joe, and Joe will make sure Russ delivers it to the facilities in need.
And let me add one more thing. You know, the metal detector is it's a primary active device to detect contraband, weapons, and now cell phones. So it's an active device, always being able to see it. You know, cameras can't see weapons. You know, it's probably the only device that can keep you the most safe, because it is an active weapon detector or contraband detector, and of course now a cell phone detector. So you know, it's a very crucial device for corrections, and I'm proud to be presenting that piece of it.
It's pretty cool. And then maybe one day we'll get yourself involved in the boss chairs.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing about the sensitivity settings, we can lock that out to where nobody can change sensitivity settings except for the admin. Okay. So that is a possibility.
Yeah, that's the key. And then so guys, I think it was a great dialogue. We learned a lot about metal detectors today, but obviously the importance, but also give respect to the people that are in those lobbies. You know, one of the most important parts of a correctional facility. And if ever you're going to invest money, that's an area you want to invest in. And I will tell you one last thing before we go. When it comes to safety and security, I know for a fact, when let's say a weapon makes it from one area to the other, I know for a fact, admin, investigative divisions, the majors, all of them, they're looking to know if that inmate went through that metal detector. I mean, it's one of the first questions that you ask. So obviously, if it's the first question you ask, you know it's the first thing you need. As always, guys, the show is Teared Up. You haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. Bell's going to notify you every time I post up a video. Stay safe.